Rewind Sports
Rewind
60.
Sports 60. From the city of big shoulders, the jewel of the Midwest, comes a sports show that's one of a kind. From iconic players to iconic stadiums to iconic teams, this is my kind of town. Chicago! And the Rewind Sports 60 is my kind of show. From Air Jordan to Sweetness to Papa Bear Hallis, this city works hard, but plays even harder. Danny Carlino and Jerry Riles bring you the Rewind Sports 60. Live. The Rewind Sports 60 starts now.
Welcome, everybody, to the Rewind Sports 60. I am your host, Lauren Cox. We are broadcasting live from our WCPT studios in the beautiful fall afternoon in Chicago. Please join in on the fastest hour in sports conversation. We are broadcasting live. Give us a call. Our number is 773-763-9278. Again, that's 773-763-9278. We want to hear your take on everything that's going on in the world of sports. There's so much stuff going on. We're also broadcasting live on Facebook. And I have my esteemed panel joining me today. Let's get right into it, guys. We have Dan Marver, the marvelous one. Dan, give us some insight. A couple of things going on. Of course, the Jimmy Butler, his triple-double that led the Heat to the Lakers to force a Game 6. The NFL has only itself to blame for this coronavirus debacle. And then, I don't know if you saw that situation with Delonte West, the former Mavericks NBA star, who unfortunately fell on some hard times. What were your thoughts on those hot takes this week?
Well, my major confusion was the leaves are falling off the trees, and Game 6 of the NBA playoffs is starting at the bottom of the hour. So that confused me. But yet the Tampa Rays playing Houston made sense to me at the bottom of the hour. And it's just one of those weird years. Now, in terms of, the COVID, the Titans are the ones that are really having a problem with the COVID right now. They're supposed to play Buffalo on Tuesday as it stands now. And, I have a feeling this isn't going to be the last situation with COVID, unfortunately.
Totally.
So, I know that I read a little bit about Delonte. He's taking some steps in recovery, and Mark Cuban was talking about it, but we can go into that in more depth.
All righty. Well, let's go into it with more depth, more in depth with my wonderful co-host, the amazing Jerry Riles. Jerry, what's going on this afternoon?
How are you, Lauren Cox?
I'm phenomenal. How are you?
You're looking fantastic.
Thank you.
Holy Moses. Maria Taylor, you better watch out, girl. Are you kidding me? Malika Andrews, step to the side.
Hey.
Lauren Cox is in the house, ladies and gentlemen. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. I certainly am. Despite the fact that, we do have one team to cheer for.
Okay,
We have one team here in Chicago to cheer for. And
yes, we do.
Believe it or not, I took them in a confidence pool this past week, Thursday Night Football, and I gave our beloved Chicago Bears a 2.
Okay.
The confidence pool is 1 to 16. I gave them a 2. And
because you like to hate on the Bears a little bit.
That's not true. I like to tell the truth. I like to tell the truth.
Yeah.
The one thing that we do here, Lauren, as you all know, it's real sports, real talk, just plain real. And I try to keep it real. And watching the Bears, I gave them a 2 to win it. So despite the fact that the GOAT was coming to town, and I said that the Bears, the Bears could win it. Well, actually, I told my boy, the great Dr. Gerard McClendon, that the Bears would lose something like 24 to 17.
Okay.
But they, and he was surprised. He said, "Hey, Jerry, the Bears can score 17 points." I said, "Yeah." I go, Allen Robinson get a touchdown pass. I said, David Montgomery will get a run on the ground, touchdown, and of course, what's his name? Sierra Santos or whatever his name. He'll kick a field goal, and then we'll be good.
Yeah.
But congratulations to the Bears.
4-1.
See, I think the other one's a sportscaster, right?
Oh my God!
Is she still around?
No. It's amazing though. They only have one loss, and it's going to happen to all of us. the GOAT forgot that it was fourth down, and that will give him a heads up when he can't find his car keys or his wallet.
Jeez.
Well, that's the first sign, right?
I know.
Oh my God.
That was unbelievable. So the Bears are 4-1 for the first time since 2012.
Ooh.
Yes, so that 20-19 win over Tampa Bay wasn't pretty, and the Bears do have some work to do. So let's get into this work that they do have to do. So they had the 2 touchdowns in the final 2 minutes in the first half of the game, which kind of turned things around because that first half was looking really, really shady. What did you guys think of the tale of the 2 halves? I mean, that first half was brutal.
Well,
Jerry?
well, I mean, it was ugly.
Yeah.
Lauren.
It was.
It was ugly. And as we all know, and everyone listening to the show and following the Rewind Sports 60 and yours truly, I've never really been a supporter of Mitchell Trubisky being our quarterback. But there was a slight, and you came to mind. I'm always thinking about you. Always thinking of you. Who needs to? Sorry, but I'm always thinking of you. And I said, you know what, Lauren? She hit it. She said both our quarterbacks are. And we'll use the term that the great Mayor Lori Lightfoot used on the show earlier this year and said the offense was pedestrian at best. Both our quarterbacks are suspects, but the difference between the guy that was drafted by Ryan Pace and, of course, the guy we traded for, the Super Bowl QB, some way, somehow, he understands and knows how to make the adjustment based on experience, I would imagine, right? But he can make the adjustment, as we witnessed on Thursday night, and somehow, some way, get things going. So I thought of you, and I was like, Lauren hit it, that we got 2 quarterbacks that they make you yawn.
Yeah.
They make you yawn.
Absolutely.
But the good Lord was smiling on the city of Chicago and the Chicago Bears, and we're 4-1.
Absolutely. Yeah. So we overcame an early 13-0 deficit against the GOAT. Dan, how did you think this matchup? I mean, the GOAT didn't look so GOAT-like with Khalil Mack on his behind.
You're right about that. I mean,
after evening.
He was scrambling for his life, but I think just in watching the Tampa team, I mean, it doesn't look like the precision of his days in New England, honestly. That'd be perfectly frank.
Yeah.
And it did seem like they had a chance for a comeback, but with the lack of a running game, again, a very, very bad running game. I mean, Montgomery only had 29 yards plus the TD, but Foles threw 30 completions out of 42 for 243 yards. So he did get things going in the second half, and it looked kind of shaky like some of the other games they've had this year at halftime, where it's like in the first 2 games I was saying, change the quarterback, but I don't think that's an option right now. So, but I'm just glad they had the resiliency to come back and win that game.
Now, what about the defense? So
defense
did you see
strong,
that play? When Khalil Mack flipped that line, the lineman must have been 400 pounds. He flipped, he sacked Brady, then he flipped the lineman over with one hand. I mean, talk about the defense, because, it was a little shaky. They were 18th in sacks going into this Bucs game. When you think about Mack, Quinn, and Hicks, they're making $44.5 million apiece. They got to ignite that pass rush, and it seems as if they actually started to do that. Khalil had 3 sacks, while he only had 8.5 last season. So hopefully more to come. What do you say about the defense, Dan?
Well, I thought that the Kyle Fuller was the key with his big hit that occurred. They were behind at that point, and then his hard hit really turned things around on Keshawn Vaughn on a short route. It was I think that changed the momentum right there.
Sure.
But obviously, the Mac they have to put 2 people on him. Honestly, so somebody is going to be able to wander around a little bit to get to the quarterback. But I think the secondary was also a key in this game for the Bears.
Absolutely. And what do you think in terms of the defense? A lot. After the game, Khalil gave so much props to Nick, and I saw that, and we were like, come on. It really seemed as if the defense carried this team and basically turned things around. Had TB12 completely out of his mind. He lost. He couldn't even tell what down it was. So something was going on. The defense did something right Thursday night.
Yeah, I think it was a little suspect that Tom Brady, the GOAT, the best, the greatest of all time, there's no question. But I it's kind of suspect that he would not know that it was a fourth down play.
Yeah.
That's to me, I don't know what happened.
He got hit 20 times. Did you see that one time when he was on the ground and he looked over and saw it was Khalil who hit him again, and he just had this look. He was throwing iPads, cursing people out left and right. He had a horrific night. I mean,
his numbers weren't bad. He was 25 of 41, 253 yards for the one touchdown, but he was very demonstrative on the sideline.
Mm-hmm.
He was not happy with the offensive line and the things that were happening to him. And thank goodness for the Bears that somehow he confused the fourth down with third down.
Yeah. Because
if you've given this guy one more opportunity to touch the football, who knows what the outcome would have been.
Absolutely.
And I mean, I thought his precision, his game management was sufficient. I thought that Tom Brady played like he was supposed to play. Now, of course, you talk about the Bears on the defensive side of the football, and Khalil Mack, came to light.
Yes, he did.
And I love the subplot as far as this game was concerned between Khalil Mack and Tom Brady. If you notice throughout the contest, whenever Khalil got close, and even when he got the sacks, there was a lot of jaw jacking going on.
Sure.
Those two were exchanging. They were talking smack. and Khalil Mack, he came through. He could have had 3 sacks, of course, but the 2 sacks that he was able to come up with against Tom Brady, I think they respect each other to the tilt.
Oh yeah.
But during the game for 60 minutes, they were going back and forth, and it was really, really good to see. But I agree with the marvelous one as far as that hit. Kyle Fuller ignited. And can we just say this?
Yeah.
Please, the officials, please get it right. Get it right. If we can see it, we're sitting at home in our lazy boys on our sofa, we're in the Hall of Fame room, wherever we may be, and we can see things that's going on. I know the rules have changed considerably to benefit players, but get the frickin' play right, man. Stop it. Get it right. They turned a negative that finally ended up being a positive. The hit Kyle Fuller, that was fantastic. It turned the game.
Yeah, I mean, I thought they were going to call a penalty on that. Didn't it look like it? But they didn't, as it turned out, on that hit. So that was a good thing.
And also, too, Brady, I thought it was kind of shady. He didn't shake Foles' hands. They got that whole thing going on with the Super Bowl. And it was interesting how he, and even afterwards, they asked him about it, of course, during the post-game interview, and he, just kind of wanted to brush right past it instead of just taking ownership and saying, hey, I'm human. I'm TB12, but I am human, and I'm not as young as I used to be, and yeah, I forgot the down. He didn't even want to talk about it. So
I don't blame him. I wouldn't want to talk about it either because you're on national television. It was definitely an embarrassment, and regardless if he made the mistake, if it was Bruce Arians who made the mistake, the offensive coordinator, whoever the situation calls for. Somebody made a mistake as far as that play and that down, but it falls on Tom Brady because Terry Bradshaw in the post game said, "Hey, listen, as a quarterback." And he played eons ago. He said, but as a quarterback, when I was on the field, if the coach, the offensive coordinator will say what's up. He said, but I always made it my business to look to the sideline and look at the yard marker to make sure I knew what it was. Now, did I catch it in between?
And too.
Yeah, but did I catch it in between when they were flipping the yardstick? He said that's one thing, but he took ownership and said that's what I would do as a quarterback. And whenever I was confused, I would always check with the coaches, but I also checked with the sideline and the yard marker. So that's kind of surprising that Tom Brady. And I wouldn't want to say anything or address him after a mistake like that. Now I'm going to hide in the locker room underneath the benches or something. Are you kidding me?
I don't see how you could do it. My son, he's 12 years old, 12-year-old quarterback, never had anything like that before happen. I could not. But then even before that, when Nagy, his play calling was a little questionable. The fact that he even got the ball back, he was halfway surprised that he even got the ball because
the only thing I can think of is that the play call didn't seem to jive with a fourth down play in Brady's mind. Maybe that was it. Maybe it seemed like not the right call for a fourth down, which I would kind of agree with as it turned out. So
confusion all the way around.
I'm glad that you brought up Matt Nagy, and this team is 4-1. But I said the first 2 wins, and I'm not hating on the Bears. I'm not. But I'm calling it the way I see it. And I'm being real with it. When they were 2-0, I see smoke and mirrors. When they get the victory, I'm like, okay. When Nick Foles, they made the decision, they bring Nick Foles in, and he led us back to victory. I'm like, okay, we got a little bit of substance here, but it's still, the jury is still out on this team.
Yeah.
And we witness, this is a hollow 4-1 record. It's one of the weakest 4-1 records in the league. There's no question about it. And congratulations, the fact that they were able to beat Tampa Bay and Tom Brady. That was huge on a huge Thursday night stage. I like it. But when you talk about Matt Nagy, he's got his guy as far as Nick Foles is concerned, because we know he understands the system and he's supposed to be able to manage the offense. There were some wounded ducks that boy threw up. There were some wounded ducks. So you're like, huh? You're like, hey, wait a minute. Is Mitch out there? Wait a minute. But then he'll come to light.
He was warming up.
But the third down or lack thereof, as far as third down efficiency is concerned regarding this Bears football team, and Matt Nagy, I mean, he said, hey, offensively, we were terrible and we got to step up. It falls on his shoulders at the end of the day. It falls on him. The players certainly have to execute, in my opinion. There's no question about it. That's where they're getting paid, and that's where they're starters, and that's where they're in position. But as the offensive coordinator or the play caller regarding the Chicago Bears football team, it falls on Matt Nagy.
Absolutely.
And I keep here. Help me out here. I'm about to get on the soapbox here.
Okay.
But here. Listen.
Yes.
Football. I know it's a different era, Lauren. I know that people want to see you air it out. I know they want to see the high points and the high score. I get that. This Bears team is not going to put up a lot of football. They're not going to put up a lot of points.
Right.
They're just not. They're not going to do that. But help me out here. Only thing. Listen. You got rid of Jordan Howard. The guy he was running. He can't catch the ball out the flats. Whatever excuse you want to make that you don't want this guy. Okay. You draft this kid David Montgomery out of Iowa State, and he's 10 rushes for 29 yards. Give the kid the football.
Yeah.
If in doubt, run the football. If Nick Foles is missing his cues, if he can't hit you from here where we're sitting, if he can't make that pass, when in doubt, give the ball to David Montgomery. He's going to move the pile.
They got to do that. They got to step up that run game and reconfigure Mooney and Patterson's roles as well. I mean, all of that is, it's clear Nagy trusts Mooney, based on his play time other than Robinson. But like I said, it's all phases of the game. Nagy, to your point, he needs to step it up. And in those two areas, the running game and in terms of his wide receivers, figuring that whole component out, Nick, he still got to figure Nick out. He got a lot to worry about for the Panthers. Dan, so we got that win.
Yeah.
But we do have Panthers coming up on our heels very soon.
Yeah. And then Panthers and Rams. I look further ahead, but the thing is,
don't go to the Rams yet. Let's just get to the Panthers, okay?
Yeah, the Panthers surprised me today.
Yeah.
They pissed me off today. Sorry.
You had the Falcons?
Yeah.
The winless Falcons?
Why would you have the Falcons? And they fired the coach. He had to go. He should have been gone.
But as a math guy, you'll notice that so far no team that has won today has scored as few as 20 points to win. We got the NFC game today was Carson Wentz and Roethlisberger, and that that was 38-29, and those teams actually have pretty good defenses too.
Yeah.
So it just goes to show you that it is possible to score a lot of points in the league, but the Bears, like you say, aren't going to. No,
the Bears aren't going to score a lot of points in this. They just don't. Historically, they don't score a lot of points. The important part of this Bears team is the fact that the defense stepped up, and they have to continue to step up and carry this football team.
They must.
But again, when you talk about the play calling of Matt Nagy, and he said we're going to address it. He's never been on a team where they've gone 3rd and 18, 3rd and 27, 3rd and 17, 3rd and long. They are inefficient as far as third down is concerned, and that's been plaguing this team all season long. To me, it comes down to the play caller. You want the players to execute. There's no question about it. But you have to put the players in the best situation to be able to execute. And if you see that they haven't, and this isn't the first week, this isn't the first game that we've witnessed this. It's been all season long. And you can use any excuses that you want. No training camp, no preseason, but none of the other teams had that either. The point is, you have to be able to game manage. And you have to put your team, your players in position to be able to execute. And if you see that they're not executing at the rate that you want them to, and we've seen shades, in my opinion, we've seen shades of glimpses of this kid, David Montgomery. We see what he can do. I don't care if he even gets 1 yard or 2 yards. He's falling forward to get you an additional half yard, additional yard. He's fighting. The kid is strong.
Yeah.
He's young. He's still learning the NFL on that level. He's effective. Utilize him.
You've got
Utilize him. Marvelous.
Yeah.
We can go back and we think of one of the greatest running backs of all time. That, of course, Barry Sanders with the Detroit Lions. Barry Sanders, which he would play the Chicago Bears, he would have 18 rushes for 103 yards or 21 rushes for 125 yards. But 18 of those rushes would be for negative yards. But, of course, they continue to feed the rock to him. And lo and behold, Lauren, he would bust one open. You knew it. It was just a matter of time. Barry Sanders would bust one open, whether it was a 65-yard game, a 79-yarder, or whatever the case may be. But was it Wayne Fonts? He would continue to feed the rock to Barry Sanders because he knew this guy was a gifted running back and he would bust one open. The same analogy, and I know the game has changed. I know this is a different era of football, but give this kid the football and let him run the rock because he is destined. He's destined. He's wearing these guys down. He's wearing the defense down. He is destined to bust one open. You mix it up. It's simple. You mix it up. You pound it, then you test the secondary, and you go deep downfield just to loosen them up to give this guy more of an opportunity to bust one up the gut. When you only give this guy 10 carries in a football game,
ridiculous.
In my opinion, you're not trying to win. And you talked about the phases of the game. There are 3 phases in the game. Your special teams they're doing decent. That kicker, what's his name?
Santos.
Sierra Santos, doing a very good job. He's doing and Eddie Pinheiro, Eddie, come on, you better hurry up and get back.
They signed somebody else.
Eddie, yeah, they did. Eddie, you better hurry up and get back, man. Come on, hurry up and get back. Because Sierra Santos is kicking the hell out of the football, right? Hey, listen, 3 phases of the football game. The defense has stepped up. The Santos kid is doing what he's expected to do. The offense is still pedestrian, okay? You're still pedestrian. Utilize the kid. You're going to look good if you're Matt Nagy if you say, hey, we're going to let David Montgomery run the rock. We're going to let him run the rock. You utilize your tight end. Jimmy Graham is doing a great job for his age in this game.
Did you see that one-handed catch that he did?
He's doing a very utilize the running game. Don't do it.
What's the fear of the running game? I mean, you look at it's got to be either the scheme or the blocking. Or the fact that there's no deception. I mean, what else can it be? Because it's at under 30 yards every single week total from the running game. Is pathetic.
So here's the deal. We know that this is my opinion, but we know that Matt Nagy, he was an arena football quarterback, right? So if you play in the arena league, it's almost like Kurt Warner with the Rams, the greatest show on turf, right? He was effective and efficient because of the play of arena football. It was quick, dink and dunk. He had Marshall Faulk, so he utilized his running back, and we saw what they were able to do, right?
Sure.
I think Matt Nagy, first of all, he's in love with himself. It's just my opinion. He's in love with himself, and that's fine. I love myself too.
Did he cut down those plays? Remember, he had like 500 plays up for Mitch, and we were like, "Are you
He's in love
me?
with himself. He's in love with himself. Okay, but he's to the point where he's in the mirror, primping too much. When you put your makeup on, like Lauren, you look fantastic.
Thank you.
You're looking fantastic.
I don't wear it as much now that
I don't either. But when you put your makeup on, and then you're like, oh man, I need a little bit here, and then you put a little bit there, and then you start piling it on, look like you got icing on your face. That's Matt Nagy. He falls in love with himself, and he goes, hey, Because these coaches, they get caught up in the plays. When you're drawing up plays, and you're like, man, this play can work. Because I used to do it back in the day when I was a little drawing up plays. And you go, man, they just do this play will work, and then you get obsessed with it. And you say, hey, wait a minute. If this happens, the safety breaks down, and we get Allen Robinson on top, we can get over here, and we can do that, and we're going to score, and we're going to put up points, and we're going to be the greatest.
Yeah.
And it doesn't happen in reality.
The other thing I've noticed on offense is you watch the other teams like I did today with Philly and Pittsburgh. It seems like they come to the line of scrimmage, the quarterback sees something, and then it seems like he talks to his people, they scramble around, and they do a different play. I actually don't see that. I don't see that too much from the Bears.
No.
Do you? Okay.
Because he's in love with himself, and he's in love with his play.
Okay.
And he's like, this is going to work. Yeah. He goes, it works. It works when I'm drawing it up. It works. And you go, coach, but coach, it's only on paper. I don't give a damn. It works. Now, if you just do it the way I draw it up, it's going to work. He falls in love with himself, and you bring up a great point. He does not audible. He does not call a different play. And your safety net is this kid, David Montgomery. You go, hey, wait a minute, that play's not working. And you got your eye in the sky, and you say, how's it look up there? Hey, coach, I don't know. When in doubt, give it to the kid. Give it to him.
Yeah.
And dare the defense to stop him. Go, I dare you. I dare you to stop him. Oh, you stopped him this time. I dare you to stop him again. You stopped him this time. I dare you to stop him again. It worked for Barry Sanders, and he's one of the all-time greatest running backs that we've ever seen. Now, I'm not putting David Montgomery in that position. I'm not doing that. But give him a chance to see if he can get there. Give him a chance. You're not going to lose the football game. That defense, run the freaking rock.
Hello.
Run the freaking clock. Let your defense get some rest. Let them get some rest, because they're chomping at the bit. So I think Matt Nagy falls in love with himself and his offense, and then when he places the blame, it's unacceptable. We can't do this. I got to talk to the coaches. We got to get in the film room. Mm-hmm. Dude. Like Lauren said, you got that card. You got 2,000 plays out here. Which one are we going to go through? 2,000. Yeah. Dude, narrow it down. It's simple. Football is a game of inches. You go north and south. You don't go east and west. You go north and south. And sometimes it's okay to eat up 10 minutes of clock trying to go north and south, especially if you get points on the board. Let the kid run the rock. That's it.
You got to do it. And you guys, give us a call. Join in. Yeah. What do you think? Do you think Nagy is the problem with the Bears? 773-763-9278 on the Rewind Sports. I also want to get into a little bit about, you talked about the tight ends. The acceleration of Kmet's growth is something that I'm a little curious about. They used him a little bit. We've got to wrap our heads around exactly what he can do and exactly how he can do it. He might not be as good as a blocker as a veteran, Demetrius Harris, but Nagy has to get him on the field more so we can really see what he can bring to that passing attack. I'm a bit concerned because I haven't seen enough from Kmet. What do you think, Dan, in terms of the tight end play?
I mean, it seems like Demetrius Harris is ahead of him in the depth chart. He gets more. I mean, he had 80 through 4 games. Kmet had only 83 snaps on offense, so obviously he's not considered to be featured. Graham is, obviously. So, I mean, I thought that perhaps he'd be worked more into the offense than he has, because at Notre Dame he looked pretty good. I mean, I haven't seen enough of him here to make a judgment, but the tight end is a key position, particularly with their offense. I thought that it hurt a little bit when Cohen went down at running back.
Sure.
So that, I mean, not that he was gaining a lot of yards either, but at least they gave him some other choices. And like I said last week, I expected maybe they'd bring along, the next one in line, like Noel or somebody, to get some snaps. But the Patterson works too, with the gadget type plays. So they just need to be a little bit more creative on the offense, and tight end would help. Good to see Kmet get more snaps, and I think that Nagy indicated, this week that might be a plan, but it didn't happen this week.
They got to get it together, and we're eagerly waiting to see him come along. Yeah. Friend to the show, Cole Kmet. Jimmy Graham was able to do some things to put us in some positive positions on the game Thursday. So let's look ahead, guys. We have the Carolina Panthers on Sunday, October 18th at 12 p.m. I saw a little bit of Teddy today, and Of course, he had that amazing comeback story.
Yeah.
He's playing extremely well. I think they've won 3 games in a row. He seemed a little, I know he talked about playing angry, and he looked a little angry. And when I saw him do his post-game interview, I said, I wish we had some angry quarterback play. I mean, he's really igniting his team. And so, the Bears definitely, we talked about the work that they have to do. What do you think when you're looking ahead, Dan, to this game
the Carolina,
with the Panthers?
I don't know much about them, but I'm looking at their stats today. Bridgewater was 27 of 37 for 313 yards. That's pretty good. Not too familiar with their lead runner, Mike Davis, and their lead receiver, Robbie Anderson. Are you guys? Those are the guys that had the most yards.
Well, Robbie Anderson, he was with the Jets. He was the Jets wide receiver, and he did pretty well with them. So,
I mean, it's going to be another challenge. Every team in the league is going to be a challenge, particularly with the Bears not being able to score a lot of points. So I think there will be another tough game. Going next week. So they actually beat the Chargers and beat the Cardinals and beat the Falcons. They did, but they did lose to the Bucs, a common opponent, and to the Raiders. So that's where Carolina stands now.
And congratulations to the John Gruden-led Las Vegas Raiders for beating the Super Bowl champs Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. I take another one because I took the Chiefs. I gave them 16 on this one because for some reason I'm riding the coattails of Patrick Mahomes, and I just didn't.
We can't fault you for that.
Yeah, I'm just thinking they were down by 16 points late in the game 4 minutes ago, and I'm still thinking that Patrick Mahomes can pull tricks out of his bag of tricks or whatever and come away with the victory. But unfortunately, they weren't able to do it. So congratulations to John Gruden led the Raiders of Las Vegas for knocking off the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, it's interesting. You talk about Teddy Bridgewater and the fire and the attitude that he has. He was in conversation as far as the Bears,
of course,
coming here to Chicago. And, of course, they passed on that. And that's another thing. I try to look at things objectively. I try to look at things diplomatically. And I try to evaluate things on face value. But when I hear people say that they suspect that the Bears may operate in somewhat, how do I use the term, Lauren? They don't like black quarterbacks.
Yes. Put it out there.
When I hear the stories, I mean, if we think about, and we're going to be bringing on Bruce Herron on our TR60 hotline real quick, but when you hear the likes of a Teddy Bridgewater name surface, you hear the likes of a Cam Newton name surface for the Bears quarterback position, would you see that Patrick Mahomes was passed over, Deshaun Watson was passed over? And I know a lot of people get tired of hearing that. Yeah, that's water under the bridge. We know there's nothing we can do about it. But when you start looking at the names that surface regarding the quarterbacking signal calling for the Chicago Bears, and you see that they are passed by, so to speak, or overlooked, or, the Bears go in a different direction. And then you see their success or what they're doing with other teams. You start to scratch your head and kind of wonder, could there be a little bit of truth to the speculation that the Bear fans or the Bears, or the Bears fans probably want it, but the Bears organization and the brass up there, feel a little bit better and more comfortable with a white quarterback as a black quarterback? And I don't want to fall into that, because at the end of the day, I think everybody wants to win. And I think when it comes down to winning, you have to look at the best athlete, as they say, on the board, but you want to look at the best person you believe who can get your team to the promised land. And when we look at the 2 quarterbacks that's on our roster right now, and it's like a coin flip. You flip with the coin, and whoever you get, whether it's Trubisky or Foles. And then you look at the quarterbacks that I mentioned who are playing for other teams. They're doing pretty well. And Cam Newton, I mean, the only thing that was able to sack him right now is the coronavirus.
They look very well.
But when you look at these other players and you go, wait a minute, we had an opportunity to get each and every one of these guys that we just talked about, and we looked past them. You got to start scratching your head and go, hey, wait a minute. Because, again, I keep telling you, every time the Bears take a snap, every game that they play with these two guys, they're pushing the success needle back another year. They continue to push it back, and there's no guarantee of what we're going to get in the draft. But every time these guys take a snap, every time we play a game, because again, the great Lori Lightfoot,
Mitch Trubisky's never going to be a Hall of Fame quarterback.
it's never going to happen. It's not going to happen. And every time they take a snap, every time they play a game, they continue to push that needle back in the opposite direction. And that's what's a little bit perplexing, because I don't want to look at it that way. I want to win at the end of the day. And I want the people that are in position, I want the people who are in position to do the job effectively enough. And 4-1 is good. 4-1 is good. But we still got, 11 games to go in the season? God forbid the pandemic halts it. We still got 11 games to go, and we still got some work to do. So the jury is still out, and I'm a Nick Foles fan.
Okay.
I'm a Nick Foles fan because I think...
Well, you ain't got a choice right now. I mean,
right. But
you
I think,
and everybody else that's in Chicago are Nick Foles fan right now.
I think if you can manage the offense, and I truly believe he can manage the offense. He kind of scared me on Thursday night. But I think he can manage the offense. But I think that if Matt Nagy just have a little bit more faith, a little bit more confident in this kid, David Montgomery, give him an opportunity to run the rock.
Okay.
Let him touch the rock at least. 18 is still kind of borderline, but let him touch the rock 18 to 25 times and see what he can do. Just see what he can do. I know the offensive line, oh my God, that's part of the problem. But you got to give them some work. They're better run blocking than pass blocking. They're better. Give them the opportunity. This kid, he's not going to lose you any yardage. He's going to fall forward. You stop him behind the line of scrimmage, he's going to get you back to the line of scrimmage. You stop him at the line of scrimmage, he's going to get you a yard or two. Give him the rock and see what he can do.
Absolutely. Well, let's bring in our phenomenal guest, the linebacker for the Chicago Bears, number 51, Bruce Herron, on our TR60 line. How are you this evening, Bruce?
I'm doing good. How about you guys?
We are doing great. A Bears win, we can't help but to be happy with the Bears win. So we definitely want to get your take on that Bears win on Thursday night against TB12, Tom Brady, and Tampa Bay. What did you think?
Well, all I know is that anytime there's a Bears win, regardless of how perfect they play or how imperfect they play, I'll take it. It wasn't a pretty game, but it was a win, and that's the important thing.
It was a win. There's no question about it, Bruce. And Nick Foles, the winning quarterback, said it was a fist fight. And he's absolutely right. That was an old-fashioned fist fight that they take behind the shed. I went to the great St. Rita High School over there on the south side when it was on 63rd and Claremont. And it was interesting because when kids wanted to fight, what they would do is they'd say, hey, we're fighting after the end of school. I had never seen this before. I was like, wow. He said, hey, we're fighting at the end of the school. We go, what? Yeah, we're going to fight. Meet me behind the bleachers. Meet me behind the bleachers. And everybody would go behind the bleachers, and these two cats would fight. They'd be fighting, knocking each other. Like Batman and Robin. Pow, bang, boom. And then the one kid would get the dude in the head like, Bruce, I ain't never heard this before. This is what, I ain't never seen this before, because in the hood we don't fight like this. But I've never seen these two white guys fighting. They're beating the hell out of each other. The one kid get the kid in the headlock. He put in the headlock. Bruce. The kid that had the dude in the headlock. He goes, say uncle. I'm looking around like, uncle, your uncle coming to help out? Because in the hood, your uncle gonna come help you fight. The dude said, say uncle. The dude in the headlock finally said, uncle. He let the dude up, and they shook hands and walked away. I go, what the heck? Hey. But that's what the Bears and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers were in Thursday night on the lakefront. They were in a fist fight, and we came up victors.
Yes, we did.
Unbelievable. But Lauren brings up a good point. As far as it was a fist fight, and it was ugly, and 1 point victory. But Bruce. We never played the game. You've played at the highest level. But, Bruce, help us out here.
Yes.
For those of us in studio and those of us listening, driving, and watching on Facebook and all that stuff, help us out here. How could the greatest of all time forget what down it is? How could he forget the down? Tom Brady didn't know it was fourth down. What happened?
I don't know, man. That was really weird to me. I was shocked that he had no idea that was fourth down. He thought he had another down to go. I was shocked. So how does it happen? I don't know. Maybe he's too old. He's starting to lose it, huh?
Well, Mac will do that to you.
Well, one thing that Brady proved, as if he hadn't already done it before, but he does not like getting hit. And man, he was getting hit a lot by Khalil Mack in that defensive line. And man, he was so pissed with his offensive lineman. I mean, to the point that he was losing on the sideline. So, that was a wonderful thing. I love to see a quarterback when he just loses it like that. Yeah. So being a defensive guy, you're having fun when you got your quarterback all upset.
This is Dan in the studio. How you doing? It's talking about defense. Doing about defense. Should be interesting. I was reading going forward that for 2 straight games now, the Carolina Panthers have not given up a sack. So that's going to be quite a challenge for them going forward, don't you think?
Oh man, it's going to be a challenge. It's going to be a challenge, and I was a big I've always been a big Teddy Bridgewater fan, and I was hoping that the Bears would actually go out and pursue Teddy during the off season, but they chose Foles instead. But it's going to be a good game. It's going to be a good game, man. They're playing really, really well. So I hope the guys are ready to strap it on because it's going to be a dogfight.
And Bruce, speaking about that, we were actually just talking about that, and I wanted to get your take. Why do you think that there is a perception that the Bears, when looking at quarterbacks, don't want to bring in an African-American quarterback like Bridgewater, like Cam, who are both available? Why do you think that perception is?
I think that perception is because, the Bears have, since I've been around, the Bears, all the first-round draft picks have been white quarterbacks. They've never had, that I know of, a first or second round, spend a first or second round pick on a black quarterback. And until that happens, that perception is always going to be there. You go back when Trubisky was drafted. I mean, we talked about this before on the show, probably last week and the week before that. But the Bears, give up the world to move up one place to pick a quarterback, that they chose Trubisky over Deshaun Watson, and I think we all were dumbfounded that happened. I didn't even know who Trubisky was. So,
come on now.
What it is, but that perception is going to hang on them until they do otherwise. So.
It's just perplexing, and we're on with the great Bruce Herron, former linebacker for your Chicago Bears, 5-year stint, number 51 in the program, number 1 in your heart, Bruce Herron on our Tier 60 hotline. It's just perplexing that we're talking about 2020, and it's not like there's a shortage of black quarterbacks on the NFL level who play at a high level.
At the highest level.
And you got a veteran in Cam Newton, Super Bowl quarterback who's they question his health. Is he going to be healthy enough? And to me personally, when you look at Cam Newton and his resume, and you look at Nick Foles and of course Trubisky, Cam Newton at half best, in my opinion, better than those guys. In my opinion, Teddy Bridgewater, he proved what he could do with the New Orleans Saints and say, you know what? Hey, Sean Payton, you gave me an opportunity. Drew Brees, I'm stepping in for you. Listen, I can still play this game at the highest level.
Give them a chance.
So, and then the young boys, Deshaun Watson. I'm gonna hang my hat on the fact that his coach in college said this is the Michael Jordan of football. When you're in the same breath of Michael Jordan, there's, in my opinion, there's nothing else to think of. There's like zero. There's nothing else to think about. Nothing. And they talk about, his size and the injuries that he sustained. Hey, listen, his team is struggling right now, and I get that.
And they fired the coach.
Yeah, I get that. But hey, listen. If you're going to gamble on somebody, I'm going to gamble on a kid that went to the national championship as opposed to a kid like Bruce Herron said I ain't never heard of. That's just the book that I've been reading. And we've read this book. All of us have read this book. But for some reason, Ryan Pace, the general manager of the Chicago Bears, Matt Nagy read the book that we read, but he's like, hey, I got to go along with my boss. But Ryan Pace read a different book. The McCaskies, hey, I don't know what they read. But it's not the same book that we read, man, because this is the one thing that I'm sick and tired of, Bruce. I'm sick and tired of it. What I'm sick and tired of is every year, we got a quarterback controversy. Every stinking year here in Chicago, it's a quarterback controversy. I'm sick of it. Draft somebody who can play the position.
Please.
And draft somebody who's going to stay at the position and evaluate them. Don't fall in love with them because they shined at the combine. Hell, I can shine at the combine. I can run. I can catch. I can jump. I can fall down. I can roll over. I can play dead. I can do all that at the combine. But you put me out on the field with 11 angry guys. I'm looking for my blanket. I'm looking for my binky. You ain't knocking the snot out of me. I'm just tired of it, Bruce. Too many quarterbacks every year. I'm tired of it.
You know what, man? I would love to see the scouting report that the Bears scouting team came up with on Trubinsky, Deshaun Watson, and even Patrick Holmes, to look at to see, what was it about Trubisky that was so much better than those two quarterbacks? Because those two quarterbacks, Deshaun Watson and Patrick Mahomes, they had stellar college careers.
Absolutely.
And as we all know, Trubisky had 1 year for them to evaluate, and that was it, just 1 year. And from what I understand, and I didn't see the bowl game his senior year, but I understand he didn't perform very well in the bowl game his senior year. But at the same point, they felt that he had all the intangibles. I mean, when you talk about black and white quarterbacks over the years, it's surprising because I can imagine how they feel when they you see this black quarterback with a lot of talent and a lot of promise, but you choose to go a different route, and they'll say, well, we didn't want to waste a first-round draft pick on someone that we didn't have highly rated on our board. But all you got to do is go back a few years. There was Kate McNown and Rex Grossman.
Stop it, man! Stop it! Stop it!
Yeah, man, I got to say it. And,
Those were rough times.
And you waste first round draft picks one after another, and you continue to do it. But it just, to me, it doesn't make any sense. At some point, you gotta close your eyes and not see color. You have to see talent. And I'm not saying that that's the way it was, but that's just the way it appears to be.
Right.
I mean, that's my team. I love my Chicago Bears.
We do. We all love them.
Yeah. That's family to me. But it's just like my brothers growing up. I mean, we would fight and argue with one another. But if somebody else come in and try to fight one of my brothers, I mean, he's got to fight all four of us.
Right. Right.
So that's the way it is.
You know what is interesting? We're on with the great Bruce Herron on our TR60 hotline, former Chicago Bear linebacker. It's interesting. This is, you bring up a great point when you talk about your brothers and, y'all bickering and fighting and whatever, but if somebody from the outside tried to come in, all y'all jumping on them and y'all getting down with them. Here's the deal. You bring me back to... Yeah, of course, and that's the way it should be. But you bring me back to the childhood memories. You know how the two best players in the neighborhood, they're going to be captains of the team. And then everybody else will line up, and then you try to get the best player for your team. Okay, I want Johnny over there. Come on, Johnny. Damn, he got Johnny. Okay, Nikki, come on. I want Nikki. You're like, damn. And then you choose it, and no offense to anybody out there, no offense, but I'm just telling you real deal how it was. You have a girl, and then you have a big fat guy, and you go, damn. You go, damn. Which one do I want? Do I want the girl? And you go, you know what? Give me Tamika, because at least Tamika could stand in front of Howard, and Howard can't move. So you say, give me Tamika. Ryan Pace said, hey, wait a minute. They got all lined up. He goes, okay, there's Mitchell Trubisky, there's Patrick Mahomes, there's Deshaun Watson. He goes, you know what? My first pick, it's gonna be Mitchell Trubisky, because I think he's better than those other two guys.
Oh
and the guy's making the second pick. He's like, in his head, he's like, damn. He goes, damn. He goes, okay, I think I'm gonna take a chance on Deshaun Watson. Would you come on my team, dude? It's as simple as that. But for some reason, it gets screwed up. Bruce, I don't know. I can't explain it. I don't understand it. Help me out here.
What did y'all get, Jerry? Man, Jerry okay?
Hey, Bruce. It's a dose of the Bears. It's a dose of the Bears. They do it to me every week.
Keeping it real. He is keeping it real.
They do it every week to me.
Yes, he is.
Well,
I appreciate that about it.
Well, yeah, and we keep it real too, and we want to thank you, Bruce Herron, for jumping on and giving your take on the Bears' victory, and hopefully next week when we have you back on, we can talk about another Bears victory. So thanks so much for calling in, Bruce Herron.
I'll be here waiting.
Linebacker 51. Thank you so much, Bruce.
Take care, Bruce.
Right,
we love you, brother.
Take care, Jerry.
Be good. Peace.
Take care.
So, Jerry, I've got to ask you a little question. I saw a tweet from Isaiah Thomas where he talked about the GOAT. Not the GOAT that you would think of for the NBA, but the new GOAT. He said on and off the field, LeBron James was better statistically, and from the eye test that he has, LeBron is the GOAT. So what say you, number one hater, LeBron James, Jerry Riles?
Well, I got my LeBron. Yeah, you're right. I got the flag. I got the LeBron. I'm not a fan of his at all. Mm-hmm. And I can guarantee you, how many people live in this great city of ours, Marvelous? Would you say 5.6 million? Surrounding suburbs, probably 8 to 10 million.
Yeah, sure.
I can guarantee you. I'm guaranteeing you this on the Rewind Sports 60 WCPT 820 AM.
9.5.
9.5 million people here in the great city of Chicago.
Metro. Yeah.
Are saying, LeBron, Isaiah, are you nuts? Are you nuts? That's just, you talk about hating?
Isaiah said,
Lauren, that's hating.
The best and most complete player I have seen in my lifetime is King James, on and off the floor. He passed the eye test, and the numbers confirm what my eyes have seen in every statistical category.
Forgive me for saying this, Lauren.
Go,
but
let it be known.
Forgive me for saying this. And if any of you are going to get offended, you better turn the volume down real quick. Turn it down real quick, but turn it back up.
Hide the children.
Hide them.
Yeah.
Isaiah Thomas is sucking LeBron's jock.
Oh, God.
That's what he's doing. He's sucking LeBron's jock. Are you kidding me? Because the greatest of all time, the king, MJ, called him an a-hole on national television across the world. 30 years after their confrontation, he called Isaiah Thomas, a Chicago product of the West Side, he called him an a-hole.
Still waiting for a handshake.
So Isaiah is taking an opportunity to try to stick it to the greatest of all time. Let me tell you something.
He said on and off the field, though.
Off the field, I'm gonna give LeBron his props.
Please
Off the court, he probably is kicking MJ's ass publicly. Mm-hmm. He's probably kicking MJ's ass publicly. Off the field, but on the court, ain't nobody. There's no one. And I this is what I believe, Lauren. I believe if King James played in the era that Isaiah played in and Michael played in, he wouldn't be King James. You know how many careers? I'm not going to say how many careers Michael ruined, but you know how many
opportunities.
You know how many players don't have championships because of Michael Jordan?
Opportunities
They
wasted.
don't have championships because of this guy.
We know. Dan, wrap us up. Give us the final take on this Isaiah MJ GOAT.
I think that they'll take it to the grave.
See?
Yeah, because the handshake. It was such bad sportsmanship, and of course they argued that the Celtics did it to them, and it was and it turned about as fair play. But heat of the moment lasts forever.
Absolutely. It lasts forever, and we wish that we could last forever, but we only have an hour in the fastest sports conversation in sports. Join us next week on WCPT 8:20 a.m. The Rewind Sports 60. Love you guys.
You guys are the best.
The preceding program, The Rewind Sports 60, is sponsored by
Take me out to the ball game. Hall of Famer Andre Dawson.
All right. Let's hear it from the greatest fans ever. On three. 1, 2, 3. Take me out to the ball game. Take me out to the crowd. Buy me some peanuts and Cracker Jacks. I don't care if I ever get back Forest Root. Root for the Cubbies. If they don't win, it's a shame. For it's 1, 2, 3 strikes, you're out at the old ball game. Hey, let's get some runs. Thank you.
Still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave? Oh, the land of the free and the home of the
everyone to another edition of the Sports Medicine Podcast, a weekly podcast. Yours truly, in 3, 2, 1. Welcome everyone to another edition of the Sports Medicine Update. It's a weekly podcast. Yours truly, Jerry Riles, and the honorable, the fantastic, the outstanding Dr. Chad Padrone. Doc, how are you?
Doing great, Jerry. How about you?
I'm doing fantastic and enjoying the weather as much as I can and as long as we can, because as you well know, here in the Midwest, just outside the greatest city in the world, and of course Chicago, Illinois, when the weather turns, it turns. And from one minute to the other, from one day to the other, from 1 week to the other, you never know what type of season you're going to experience here in the great city of Chicago and the surrounding area. So I'm taking advantage of this and enjoying this beautiful summer-like temperatures that we're experiencing over the past few days, and the next couple of days, hopefully.
Yeah, it's probably going to be a terrible winter because it's certainly been a beautiful summer and fall.
Well, it comes with the territory, right?
Yeah, that's right. Just gotta deal with it.
And as far as the sports world is concerned, there's a lot to come with the territory as well. And we know that as of this podcast, that it's down to the the finals in the NBA, the National Basketball Association. That, of course, the Los Angeles Lakers, led by LeBron James, and, of course, your favorite, one of your teams, your guys, the Miami Heat, were led by Jimmy Butler, former Chicago Bulls, former Chicago Minnesota Timberwolves, and, of course, former Chicago Philadelphia 76ers. Now actually opportunity to, very slim though, but an opportunity to possibly get his first ring. First of all, I got to say kudos to you. Congratulations to you. And the wisdom that you share, not only in sports medicine, but in sports in general, is off the charts, because you told me, keep an eye on this kid, Jimmy Butler. He is the cream of the crop. Gotten his team to play outstanding. And despite the fact that their backs are against the wall, Jimmy Butler has made a major impact as far as these NBA finals are concerned. And my hat is off to you. And I was this close. Miami Heat jersey with the name Jimmy Butler on the back. So, sir, thank you so very much. And we'll see what unfolds between this podcast and, of course, the next following days.
You know, I've never met him. He doesn't know who I am, but I have for a while had terrific admiration for him just on all fronts as a player, character, whatnot. So I'm glad to see him getting rewarded with a trip to the finals.
Now, there's they've been plagued with some injuries, and we know the performance of Jimmy Butler in Game 3, I believe, where he single-handedly willed his team to victory over LeBron James and Anthony Davis to get that one victory. But on the injury front, their star guard is out and nursing a foot injury, and of course, we know what the Robin to the Batman of Jimmy Butler, Bam, just came back, not effective. But talk about the injury situation regarding the Miami Heat and what this has done to the players and, of course, this team in the series.
Yeah, they're interesting, you know, from a sports medicine perspective, too, because as I think everybody knows now, even more than before, they have, you know, obviously I don't know what every team does, but by all accounts, one of the most intense, probably the most intense conditioning regimen in the NBA, maybe in all of sports. They weigh athletes. They measure body fat regularly. They keep people out if they can't perform. And it comes to pass, you know, I don't think people realize, but in that game that early in the series, the three best players are Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo, and Goran Dragic. And actually, so Bam was out and he came back, and talk about Goran in a minute, but Jimmy Butler rolled his ankle in a pretty bad way in that game, but he came back, never complained, and my goodness, you know, what he's done, not less than, not 100% himself, I think is amazing. But as they say, and as his coach, Eric Spoelstra said, he said he's in the top 1% of conditioning, you know, in the whole NBA. So it just goes to show you the rewards that come to people that really take care of themselves. Goran Dragic, it's, you know, and I don't think Bam Adebayo is all the way back, but Goran Dragic is, you know, it's kind of a shame, and I don't know what his status is for tonight. I think he's not going to play.
He's not.
Yeah. And they've had him as questionable throughout, or doubtful, I should say, throughout, and I think he still is. But he's, you know, that injury can take a long time. So the plantar fascia injury, and it's got, and again, I'm not privy to inside information. I don't know what his MRI showed. The general just seems to be that it's a partial tear, and that injury is something that's probably well known to a lot of our audience. Or something like it. So plantar fasciitis is a fairly common diagnosis. This is it's the same structure, but in a different place. So plantar fasciitis is one of the three causes of heel pain that we see. One of them being the Achilles tendon injury, which is in the back of the heel. Then there's a thing called heel pain syndrome, which is in the bottom of the middle of the heel, which is not well understood, actually. And then plantar fasciitis is sort of in the bottom of the foot where the heel is, sort of the front of the heel, a little toward the inside. And that's where the plantar fascia attaches to the calcaneus or heel bone. Now, what he apparently has is a partial rupture of the plantar fascia itself. So what is that, and what is fascia? There is a type of cell called fibrous tissue, and fibrous tissue is used a lot in the musculoskeletal system for three kinds of structures primarily. Fibrous tissue makes up tendons, and it makes up ligaments, which differ structurally somewhat, but are similar. And then it makes up fascia. So fascia tissue looks a lot like ligament tissue, and it's very gritty and very strong. The plantar fascia runs along the bottom of the foot and connects more or less the heel to kind of where the ball of the foot is, and it supports the arch. So if you get damage to it, it's painful, number one. It can cause structural problems. In his case, as best I can glean from what I've read, it appears to be a partial tear, not a complete tear. And, complete tears can take months and months to come back from. So partial tears, depending on how bad it is, at least has the potential to come back. But, if you push it on a partial tear, you run the risk of making it into a complete tear, which is a far worse injury. Decades ago, this was one of the injuries, like most of the other ones, that people used to inject with either cortisone or a painkiller. And we were talking about the quarterback, Tyrod Taylor, I think, who got the pain-killing injection into his lungs. But this is something you would not want to inject. So just a few things that I think that need to be more widely known than they are in treating these injuries. So you can numb it up with Novocaine, lidocaine, and go out there and play, but that's dangerous, and nobody would ever do that because you could injure yourself worse. But the other question is, what about cortisone? And cortisone has been used for decades, but less and less. And I'm a big I don't use cortisone almost never in my practice, because cortisone also has been shown. It's been shown that it's bad for the health of cartilage cells. It's also been shown it's bad for the health of tendons and can cause tendon ruptures. And so it can contribute to plantar fascial ruptures too. So the one question is, do you want to inject this? And the answer is no. The main thing that you want to do, which they are doing, is kind of leave it alone. Usually, if I have patients with this, I use what we call protected weight bearing, which means I tell them to take 2 crutches, or if they're older, a walker, and put some weight on it, but not a lot of weight. It turns out that structures like ligaments or fascia or tendons or bones have a window of stress that is optimal, both when they're healthy and when they're damaged. So if they're damaged and you put too much stress on them, you'll damage them worse. And of course, you don't want to do that. But if you take all mechanical stress away, they don't heal as strongly as if they have some stress. So the optimal thing to do is to have them put a little mechanical stress on it, which actually stimulates healing, but not too much. How much is too much? Your body generally tells you, because you get pain. So if you're putting, and I tell my patients, if you're putting, put some weight, take enough weight off that it doesn't hurt. And our bodies are very smart, and then, if you do that, it heals optimally. So they have him, I'm sure, taking some weight off. Many people, and maybe they will use a boot to immobilize it. I actually almost never do that, because immobilization of joints is not good for them. Joints get their nutrition from motion, because joints don't have a blood supply. So the motion of the joint causes increased diffusion of fluid, joint fluid, and other nutritional substances into the joint. So optimally, in general, I like to put people on protected weight bearing, don't immobilize it. I don't ever use pain-killing or anti-inflammatory drugs. I don't know if they are with him. They used to be extremely common. We talked about this before, but are being used less and less. They actually interfere with healing. Now, the people that use them will say, yeah, they do, but not that much. Maybe. They also mask pain. So if you have an injury like that, and I'm telling patients, well, take enough weight off that it doesn't hurt, you can't really tell if you're taking a painkiller. And thirdly, these drugs, and I've talked about this before on this program, but I can't say it enough. These drugs are very toxic, high incidence of bleeding ulcers, kidney problems, liver problems, other problems. So, I think the best thing to do is protected weight bearing, probably not to immobilize it. Sometimes you can. let the patient feel it, and then your body will tell you when it's better.
Dr. Chad for Jomas, Sports Medicine Update, the weekly podcast talking about plantar fasciitis. Question. Most Bulls fans are familiar with the injury because Joakim Noah suffered this unfortunate injury, and it really affected his playing time and his career. I think the average person who may get out there on the court on the weekend, or the weekend warrior, is wondering, how do you prevent this from happening? Are there particular stretches that you should do or should be concerned with? Because again, many of us weren't really familiar with it. I think we probably heard the term in passing, but to actually know someone who's had it and even maybe having it yourself, how do you prevent this from happening? And you shed a light on a lot of things that you can do regarding the healing process. But you talked about the boot. Is that an alternative if you cannot prevent yourself physically from getting this injury? You don't recommend the boot at all?
I don't, and I'm probably in a bit of a minority. You see, part of the equation, if you're a physician treating patients, is what patients want too. And patients that come to me with, as the National Hockey League says, lower body injuries, typically want two things. One, they want something to immobilize it, like a boot. And two, they want a pain pill. And, in my opinion, the optimal treatment is kind of the opposite of that. As I mentioned, immobilization causes atrophy of joints and cartilage, and it's really not good for the joint. Now, can you tolerate it for a while? You can, but it's really not good for it. And tissue, in every study of every tissue out there, has been shown to heal better if it moves. Now, there's sometimes when you can't. If you have a fracture with two bone ends, well, you can't allow much motion at the bone ends. Even there, though, there's some questions. But basically, so in that case, you have to immobilize it with a cast or a plate or something. But for most other structures, a little motion is good. Now, what happens is people often don't like crutches and they don't like walkers. And so I just spend time with my patients and say, look, if your goal is to get better as quickly as you can, just kind of bite the bullet and do this because it's the best thing for you. And furthermore, if you wear a boot, it decreases the pain, but it doesn't eliminate it. And so it is, if weight bearing, especially with something like the plantar fascia. So they may be using a boot, and if they do, I think it's fine, but I don't. And talking about Joakim Noah, I'd have to look back at old newspaper accounts. I believe he had plantar fasciitis and not a plantar fascial rupture. And they're treated somewhat differently. And I also believe, so with regarding his treatment, he I was going to say that I have some particular knowledge of that case, and I don't want to say things that I shouldn't. But let me just say that among the ways that you can treat it, there's, for example, shockwave treatment. And I think he had that. I could be wrong. And that's something that imparts basically sound waves to the area, and it traumatizes the tissue a little more and inflames it in a way that stimulates a healing response. And I believe that's what got him better. Now, that's something you can do for plantar where this fascia attaches to the heel. It's not something so much that's used for a plantar fascial rupture. I guess you could. The other thing that's out there that we use commonly is PRP, platelet-rich plasma injection, which I've talked about before. Also, low-level laser treatment, which I mentioned before. So I've used low-level laser treatment for plantar fasciitis, and it helps, usually not dramatically. But PRP can help very dramatically. So PRP is where you draw your blood, spin it down, isolate growth factors, and inject it. It's used very commonly in professional athletes. So it's your own tissue. You can't have a reaction to it. It has healing growth factors that help things heal and quiet inflammation. Now, it's probably not something you want to use in the acute setting, say with Goran Dragic, where they're still hoping to get him back, because it works, but it takes anywhere for a week, for a month to work. So in his setting, maybe not so much. But, if the season ends, say it ends tonight, and he's not playing, and I'm not saying they will, but PRP is a very reasonable treatment to inject to facilitate healing. Actually, what works even better is stem cell treatment. And we, as you know, we have a foundation and we do a lot of work with stem cell treatment, but it's tricky because concentrated stem cells is not something that the FDA will let you do in the United States there. But there are places offshore and elsewhere where it is freely done. And that's something that almost certainly would help this heal quicker. Now, do you need to do it? Will it just heal on its own? It probably will. I will tell you that if I were him and I had access to it, it's something that almost certainly would help it heal quicker. It's just that it's tough to gain access. But so in general, the other things that we use, PRP is used to stimulate healing, and it's readily available and it's legal. And I don't know if they're going to do that, but it'd be a reasonable thing to try. Or they may think it's healing fine on its own. Let's leave it alone. You asked about stretching. So I will tell you, and I've kind of mentioned before, that there is literature where people stretch things that are damaged, from hamstrings to plantar fascia to Achilles tendons. And in my I've been practicing for 35 years. And in my first couple of years of practice, I used to employ these for all those injuries. And my, tennis elbow, all kinds of things. And they would call it eccentric stretching, meaning you stretch it while the tendon is elongating. Anyway, my experience was that it did very little good, and that it often aggravated the problem. So I haven't used it in forever. And I've come to believe, and I think it's kind of a logical thing too, that if you just leave the tissue alone to heal, you're better off. If you stretch it, you're taking damaged tissue and then imparting more stress. So I certainly wouldn't fault the Heats medical staff if they're doing that. It may be that a majority of doctors would. It's standard accepted treatment. But I have just had much better results when I don't use it. You mentioned preventing it. In the common setting, plantar fasciitis, we'll see it sometimes in people who have gained a little weight. We'll tell them to use cushioned shoes and whatnot. But in a conditioned athlete like him, these guys just start to, those tendon-like structures are under so much stress, and he's 34, I believe. Past a point, it's just wear and tear, and I don't think there's really anything you can do. It's just kind of the luck of the draw.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, I know many people listening and or watching this podcast probably don't want to hear that and pray that they never get that injury. But it's great information, useful information, of course, that you provide, not only myself, but everyone tuning in, just in case they happen to, unfortunately, experience this painful injury. And as you say, it's just a matter of just letting, so to speak, nature take its course and riding it out as far as the healing process?
Yeah, I think so. And in general, activity, mechanical stress that doesn't cause pain is beneficial to healing. So, to get a person's heart rate up with that injury is kind of difficult because you're certainly not going to be able to run. We use ellipticals a lot, but you can't use an elliptical either. So a stationary bike is usually a mainstay. You can do things in water too. We'll sometimes get people a vest in the deep end of a pool and let them churn their legs like they're running. It's tough though. These guys are so well conditioned that to maintain that conditioning or anything close to it and get your heart rate up, is very, very difficult. So, but those are usually the best ways. And you could experiment with something like a rowing machine, I suppose. But again, one of the reasons I don't use any drugs is that your body will tell you if you're damaging it. So if you could use, for example, a rowing machine, probably a little better workout than a bike, depending on how hard you do it. If you're not having pain, I think it'd be fine. If you are having pain, then you just shouldn't.
So, Doc, let's transition. Well, we can stick with it, but I want to incorporate the other leagues regarding COVID-19 and the fight against the pandemic. We see that the NBA, playing in the bubble down in Orlando, they've done a fabulous job. I mean, early on they had a couple hiccups or a bump in the road, but the commissioner, Adam Silver, you know, team general managers, owners, they all collectively got together and say, this is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to do it. And we're going to stay on top of this. And the cases have been, the players have been protected, outstanding, phenomenal. And we're about to crown an NBA champion for the 2020 season. Are you surprised that we were able to get through this thing based on being in this bubble? Your thoughts on that? And the National Football League, we've seen that cases. We're fortunate, in my opinion, to have finally gotten to week 5. But of course, you know, there are some issues. There are some teams that have the Tennessee Titans that have tested positive for the coronavirus, and the league officials, the commissioner, they're like, we're not going to tolerate this. You have to abide by the protocol, or else there's going to be drastic ramifications. Your thoughts on the NBA bubble and what, in particular, the National Football League can do to learn from what the NBA has done. Now, keep in mind, I think it's almost virtually impossible for the NFL to try to come up with a bubble, so to speak, because of the number of people and the amount of money it'll cost to even try to house this thing. But your thoughts on the NBA and how they've handled it and what the NFL can learn from it?
Well, you know, as I mentioned before here, first of all, I think the leagues have done a great job. Responsible, conscientious, can't say enough good things about all of them. But I think that they're in a no-lose situation. I think the only way they could lose is if they panic and cancel the season. And the reason, as I mentioned before, is that the consequences of getting the virus in that population are almost always not significant. So the thing is, if you have to postpone a game or cancel a game, it's bad for scheduling. But, you know, having more and more athletes gradually get the disease, you can make an argument is kind of a good thing because it'll decrease contagion. And, you know, I've mentioned before that football players, some of them were kind of heavy, are at maybe a little more risk than others. But so far, there haven't been issues, and I don't think there are going to be issues. So I think they just need to persevere and have flexibility. When they have to postpone a game, postpone it. So I think it's good if you're going to get positivity, I think you can argue that population, particularly when they're not contacting other high-risk people. The real problem might not be a bad thing as long as everybody doesn't get it all at once. So I think they're in a no-lose situation as long as they continue to do what they have done, which is flexible. If you have to postpone a game, postpone a game. And, you know, the other nuance that's added to this, in addition to the fact that the mortality rate is less. I mean, it's a less severe illness for young people. It's a more severe illness for people over 70 than the flu. So, you know, what's a buzzword that's out there now in this whole field is focused protection, you know, protect the elderly. But the other thing, and, you know, vaccines are soon to be here, I think, but the treatment front, there are so many treatments that are on the rise. And, you know, just in the news as we speak, President Trump, I think everybody knows, was tested positive, and he was treated with antibodies, synthesized antibodies from a company called Regeneron. I think probably most everybody knows this whole story. So he was given that. He was given remdesivir. And his recovery is pretty remarkable. You know, he had very little downtime. He had steroids for one day when his lungs were bad. But he's back. He's feeling good. He's going to be back out in the open. He's already making his own antibodies. And he has said, and, you know, as is his style this drug is experimental, but he said, I want it. And he said it works, and it's been tested. It's clearly safe. And so they had antibodies from a company called Regeneron. I think Lilly has one something like it, which directly attacks the virus. And he has said he wants it to be available to everybody free. The supply chain issue, which is actually a big part of the COVID process that no time to get into here. But the reason I bring it up is that there are so many fronts where things are looking good. So if there was that one football player who I mentioned. He was a Division II player. I can't think of his name. May he rest in peace. He was listed at 6'3" and 350 roughly, and he passed away. I don't know anything about the rest of the story. But as I've mentioned to you, being heavy is a risk factor, and being heavy predisposes to other risk factors. Eddie Goldman, for example, from what I read in the paper, fabulous player, big guy, well over 300 pounds. They also said had asthma, and I believe that's one of the reasons that he isn't playing. And he had a designation the NFL has for people that have multiple risk factors. Anyway, so my point is, I think I'd be very surprised if anybody in the NBA got real sick from this because they're all lean. I mean, things can happen, of course, but it would be very unusual. In the NFL, it would still be unusual, but there's probably a greater chance. And so the thing is, my point is, that even in treatment, there's convalescent plasma too, which looks like it works well. And so what I'm saying is that the treatment, what's happened, it's unfortunate that he became ill, but I think it has served a huge purpose in making these antibodies in a situation where they're likely to be available. So again, I think the pro leagues are doing everything right. I think the chance of bad things happening are small. And here, everybody talks about the vaccine, but here on the treatment front as well, there's just all these advances so that just persevering is just the right thing to do because chances are things are going to work out well.
So you think we'll get past this flu season? Just some people say that's already here. And, of course, we'll make it through the winter and the hopes and the possibility to get it back to some sort of normalcy by early spring of next year?
I think we should be back to normalcy now. And, there's a lot more to this, too, even on the reporting. And there are reports in the news. It's actually very well known. Dr. Redfield, the head of the CDC, was just talking about this, that as you may know, hospitals get significantly greater reimbursement if COVID is put as, for example, a cause of death. I think it's a couple $1,000. I'm not sure the numbers, but it's significant. And so, there's this distinction of dying because of COVID or with COVID. 20% of the females in the New York hospital that had COVID were pregnant. So you wonder, how many of those people were admitted because they were pregnant and happened to have COVID. The reason I say this is that there are powerful economic forces toward maximizing the reporting. I mean, it's not a black and white thing, reporting. And there are other things in this regard. Lots of thousands of people that have died with an accident, being listed as well as COVID. So what I'm saying is, I think that, for the general population, that it's overstated as is the cases where it's causing serious problems. And I think for older people and old sick people, it's very serious. And that's why, which Europe is doing too, we should really focus our attention there. But as to the flu season, and there's even some talk that, flu vaccines may give cross immunogenicity. So, yeah, I think for the things that matter, for people getting back to school and getting back to work, people should be back now. They should socially distance. I think they should wear masks, although it's interesting, in Sweden, they're not, and they're doing better than other countries. So there's lots of data that shows that masks don't help, but I wear one. I think we should. I think it's prudent. The number of reports, and this probably isn't the venue to get into it, but the number of reports of increased mortality from cancer, from suicide, from drug overdoses is huge. These are consequences of the lack of normalcy. So I think it's extremely dangerous if we don't get back to normal while being maniacal about protecting the old and those with comorbidities.
Very well said, Dr. Chafford-Jomas. And of course, we can continue to dive deep into this topic of conversation with the pandemic definitely looming over our heads. And I want to make a correction. I think last week on the podcast, I said there were numbers going up in the state of Florida, and it was actually in Wisconsin, our brothers up to the north of us. And we can see that over this past week, those numbers are continuing to elevate. In the state of Illinois, well, the city of Chicago, Mayor Lori Lightfoot is looking to have people self-quarantine themselves if they come across the border. But I do want to make that clear that the state of Wisconsin, with the numbers that were rising close to, if not already at double digits as far as cases in that state.
Good point. Thanks for the correction. Although cases are not the relevant statistic. What matters is hospitalizations. And hospitalizations are really well under control. It's a different population that's getting it. Younger people are getting it more, and they don't get sick very much.
Dr. Chafford-Jomas, it's always a pleasure. If anyone needs more information, they want to find out more about sports medicine regarding whatever injuries they may happen to get. We don't want anyone to get injured while they're out there playing golf because the weather is beautiful. Tennis, basketball, rollerblading, bicycling. But if anyone happens to get some sort of injury, how do they get a hold of Dr. Chafford-Jomas?
So our phone number is 847-699-6810. We've got a great staff, and a live human being will pick up the phone, not a phone bank. And you can email us at ortho, like orthopedics, just ORTHO, ortho at ISMOC. That's Illinois Sports Medicine Orthopedic Center. So ortho at ISMOC.net.
I love that you have live individuals answering the phones when they call your number.
Yeah, it's the, even as a physician, and patients probably don't realize this, but as a physician, doctor-to-doctor communication is important. And the proliferation of phone banks by big institutionalized medicine has really made that challenging. It's very frustrating.
Well, you've made it easy for a lot of people who want to get in contact with you. Dr. Chafford-Jomas, thank you so very much. Always a pleasure learning, being educated, and being inspired to stay healthy and get out there and take advantage of the beautiful weather and keep fit. There's no question about it. But be safe. Wear the mask, wash your hands, practice social distancing. Dr. Chafford-Jomas, the Sports Medicine Update, the weekly podcast. Have a good one. We'll talk to you next week.
Thanks so much, Jerry. You too.
With the injuries in regards to James Daniels, we're taking a look at his pec. So we have to see where that's at. We'll have some more information as far as confirmations. We don't have anything yet because we haven't looked at it yet. So we'll go ahead and see where that's at. And then Bond has a quad. In regards to Panera, no update. And same thing with Bush and McManus. In regards to going back and watching the game, again, it's great to be 4-1. That part feels good. I thought that our guys, like I said last night, everyone fought together and persevered against a really good football team with a great quarterback, and to come out with a win is always a lot easier when you're watching the tape to be able to coach off of that. I thought offensively, they're just looking at it, and you start wondering about the sloppiness and where things are at and how to get to where we need to go. I just look back after watching the tape, and the details right now in this offense are not there. So that's our job as coaches, to make sure that we get these freaking details right. And it's as simple as that. To be in a situation like we were yesterday in that second half, I've never been a part of something of 3rd and 17, 3rd and 18, 3rd and 2, 3rd and 24, 3rd and 29, 3rd and 19, 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9, and 3rd and 9. I've never been a part of that. So, we got to get that thing there has to get fixed. That's that. So offensively, we got some stuff to do. Defensively, I'm proud of our guys. They got after them. It's a good offense that they have. Special teams did a great job last night. I'm proud of those guys. Like I said, no change there after watching all the tape. But until we get our details right on offense, we're going to continue to be this way. So that's my challenge to us as coaches and to us as players is we get the details right and we start doing that and we play better football on offense.
Dan Wiederer.
Hey, Matt, on your first touchdown drive, key third down conversion where Nick beat a blitz with a dump off to David. Looked like David may have missed a protection assignment there. What went wrong and what went right on that play? And given how it had gone up to that point, how valuable in the grand scheme of things was that conversion?
Say that again. Which play? I'm sorry. Which play was it?
So it's on your first touchdown drive in the second quarter, and Nick beats a blitz with a little dump off to David.
Yeah.
It looked like David might have missed a protection assignment there, but then got out and caught the dump off.
No, yeah, that one there, he didn't have any time to step up, so he had to get rid of the ball quick to the flat. So David was doing the right thing, and he got his eyes around, and Nick, and that's all Nick could do was dump the ball down to him, and then he was able to make that play.
Jason Leisure.
Matt, I'm a little surprised. This is the most angry I think you've sounded about your offense. There have been some rough games. What was the tipping point for you last night? And what specifically, when you talk about details and sloppiness, do you need to see turn around?
Well, it's everything, right now. I think that you look at when you try to make plays go and when you coach plays schematically, us as coaches and them as players, you need to do everything exactly the way that it's supposed to be done. And so if that means run a route at 5 steps and not 3 steps, or if that means run a route at 3 steps and not 7 steps, or, that has to happen. If it means to set a certain way and block somebody, that's what that means. If it means to throw on a certain time with your feet, do that. If it means to make the right play call at the right time, then do that as coaches, meaning myself. And so we're all in this thing together, but I refuse to allow this to happen. And us as coaches, we're gonna use the next couple of days here to make sure that whatever we're doing, that we're being the greatest teachers we can be. And then on your end as players, you better be the best students you can be. And if you're not, then we're gonna have to figure something out. And so that's my challenge to the offense right now. Is you get to this point right now, nothing's effort. There's zero effort. I love our guys and the effort that they have is phenomenal. None of it's effort. None of it's not caring. But darn it, when you play in this offense, you better.
Welcome, everybody, to the Rewind Sports 60 WCPT. We're streaming live from the WCPT studios, 8:20 a.m. in a beautiful Chicago summer day. And I just want to welcome everybody to the fastest hour in sports conversation. Check us out live. We're streaming live on Facebook at the Rewind Sports 60. And this is just another Interesting time in sports, so I can't wait to get right back into it, guys. I'm Lauren Cox, your host, and I want to get right to my esteemed panel. First and foremost, he's back in the studio. The marvelous one, Dan Marver. How are you this afternoon, Dan?
I'm great. I'm not driving 80 miles per hour with cars passing me.
Oh my gosh. Okay,
Yeah,
so
but listen, 3 weeks. Can you believe it? August 1st, God willing, we're going to have the NHL in Edmonton and Toronto, the NBA in Florida, and baseball in various cities all on the same day. I mean, I'm like, it's going to be like, I'm going to have I'm going to have needles in my veins. It's unbelievable.
Oh my gosh. All right. Well, next we have, I don't know if you can top that, but my amazing co-host, the amazing Jerry Riles. How are you doing this evening, Jerry?
What's up, Lauren? How are you? Oh my God.
We're ready for some sports.
Yeah, we certainly ready for some sports. Marvelous, I got to tell you, I actually had needles in my vein. Well, a needle in my vein this past week.
Oh, sorry.
And I wasn't under Lower Wacker Drive and under the viaduct with a needle in my vein.
Oh my God.
No, I wasn't. But I was in Wheeling. I gave blood this week.
Okay.
Yeah. Life Source, thanks to the folks from Life Source. They had a new name now. I don't know what the name is, but thanks to those folks, I was able to give a pint of blood. And yeah, so they stuck the needle in my vein, man. So I'm doing my part.
Yes.
As they say. I'm doing my part.
Do our part.
And I hope that everyone's out there doing their part, Lauren and Marvelous One. Yeah. Man, this is the fastest hour in sports conversation. If you guys want to be a part of this great show, Lauren, you're going to give us a breakdown as far as what we're going to do. Our number here is 773-763-9278, 773-763-WCTT. Lauren, what we got on tap for the fastest hour in sports conversation here in Chicago?
Our top 3 hot takes in sports up for the week.
What is that?
Just some hot takes. I mean, what everybody was been talking about all week long as it pertains to sports. Just the hot topics, and then we'll go around and see what everybody has to say about those hot topics. And I think the number one hot topic everybody was talking about in sports this week was, of course, your boy. We talked about him last week, Patrick Mahomes. On April 30th, the Chiefs picked up the 5th-year option on Mahomes' contract, but on July 6th, he signed a 10-year contract extension worth $477 million with another $26 million in potential bonuses for a total of $503 million, which extends his contract through 2031. $141 million in guarantees over 12 years, and he was guaranteed a signing bonus of $63 million.
Unbelievable.
So that's the main thing that people were talking about. Also, too, Deshaun Jackson, we all heard and we all know the comments that he made in reference to Adolf Hitler, and he received immediate backlash. He came back and issued an apology. Philadelphia did punish him, which we all know means he got fined, and now he says he's working towards building a better bridge and more understanding and intelligence around these issues. So definitely want to get you guys' take on that. And then the final thing is basically what we all pretty much knew may happen, and we'll see now how many other teams will follow. But the Ivy League announced Wednesday it's suspending its fall sports schedule, including football, due to coronavirus. The first Division I conference team to do that.
And the Big Ten's not having any non-conference games, and the Pac-12 have already announced no non-conference football games.
Yep, and your Ohio State University AD.
The Ohio State University
AD expressed a little concern about his kids playing. So we'll go around, Dan. Let's start with you. What are your takes on those three hot
And the
takes?
Big Ten thing, it's kind of funny because you'll have Nebraska going to Maryland, but you won't have Illinois playing Illinois State. If they're worried about 50 miles, and they're going to be going, so it almost doesn't make any sense if that's their reason. But in any event, it's a logical thing. They're going to do that in basketball too. I have a feeling they'll start in January with conference games only, because it doesn't look good right now with the way things are going. I mean, certain states are out of control right now. So with the cases, so I believe that there's going to be, and I hope that, like I was saying, the August 1st thing happens. I mean, there's still an element of doubt on whether all that will go through, but I hope so.
No, a lot of us hope so, and I guarantee you that the National Football League, they're hoping to move forward as far as training camp is concerned. Major League Baseball is hoping it moves forward as far as the 60-game shortened season is concerned. And, of course, we already know about what's going on with the National Basketball Association down in Orlando. So everyone is, and the fans themselves, everyone is anticipating and hoping that we can move forward and move past this and get back to some sort of normalcy.
The only place where there'll be fans maybe is at Wrigley Field on the rooftops.
For $1 million.
It may as well be $1 million, but there are going to be fans at Comiskey Park or Guaranteed Rate Field. They're just going to be in cardboard form. You pay $49, but there'll be fans in the stands at Guaranteed Rate Field. Marvelous.
There you go.
Yeah, there's so much that's one reason why we enjoy sports and we follow sports, we cover sports, we talk about sports, because once you think you've seen it all or heard it all or both, there's something else to tip it over to the next, raise the bar, so to speak. And first of all, I say congratulations to Patrick Mahomes. Congratulations to the young man. They broke the bank. He and his team, they broke the bank. $450 million over 10 years, minus the bonuses and everything else, but $450 million over the next 10 years. Congratulations to Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs for locking this kid up. And here's the deal. He is the face of the National Football League now.
Absolutely.
Tom Brady, hey, you had your run. 9 Super Bowls, 6 championships. You had your run. This guy said, hey, it's the new sheriff in town. And here's the scary thing about it. Here's the real scary thing about it. And Bear fans, I know Bear fans are turning over tables, kicking chairs, doing everything because they're pissed.
Don't even bring it up.
But here's the scary thing. We have to bring it up. Are you kidding me? Here's the scary thing about this Patrick Mahomes deal. Remember, he didn't play a full season, Marvelous and Lauren. Why? Because he busted kneecap. And everyone thought that the season was over for this kid. He comes back. After he wins the Super Bowl, brings the Kansas City Chiefs from behind to win this darn thing, gets the MVP honors. About a couple of weeks ago, or afterwards, or 30 days afterwards, whatever the case may be, he makes the profound statement and says that I didn't really fully start to understand defenses until halfway through the regular season. He goes, and I'm still learning.
I couldn't believe it.
No one could believe it. This guy is the MVP of the Super Bowl. And he goes, hey, you know what? Halfway through the season, week 8, week 9, I'm still trying to figure out defenses, and I still haven't figured it out yet. That's scary.
But he's scary.
Yeah. That's scary.
Everybody's scary.
Right. But we got a guy. We could
have had him.
Went in the same draft, moved up to go number 2. And when we knew he couldn't figure out the defenses. We knew he didn't understand the defenses, but this is the guy we got. And we passed up the real deal. Yeah. We actually passed up 2 real deals. Yeah. Patrick Mahomes and
Houston. Yeah.
Deshaun Watson. Right? We passed up both those cats for this guy. Who's competing for the starting job if we ever get there, Marvelous?
Yeah, well, it's
unbelievable.
What do you do with $500 million after you buy a few homes and invest wisely?
You do whatever you want. You do whatever you want. No, congratulations to the young man, and God bless him, and let's hope that he stays healthy. But again, busting up your kneecap and still coming back to lead your team to victory, getting to the Super Bowl, coming from behind to become the MVP of the Super Bowl. That says a lot. And again, Lauren, he still doesn't understand NFL defenses yet. So just imagine when he figures it out.
He makes it look so easy.
Unbelievable.
Like, how is he making this look so easy? And he just got here. It's unbelievable. Just wait until he gets some real experience under his belt. He literally could be the best.
It's scary.
Ever.
It's scary. It's scary. I was talking to somebody about our quarterback, Mitchell Trubisky. And incidentally, Mitchell Trubisky and some of the Bear players have been working out at Buffalo Grove High School over the past few days, a couple of past weeks or whatever. Okay. I haven't had the chance to check them out, but Mitchell Trubisky and some of the guys are in the house. Well, they're in the vicinity, but they've been working out at Buffalo Grove High School. I don't know if it's going to continue, but I was talking with someone, and he said, how many games did Mitchell Trubisky start in college in North Carolina? 13. He goes, how many games did he play in high school? Who knows? I don't know. 30 or something. Counting? So maybe he's got 40 games under his belt. 40 games under his belt.
He had a lot of potential.
Yeah. Let me tell you something, Marvelous. Lauren, I know you're going to find this hard to believe, but at one point in time, I had a lot of potential too. But I didn't get drafted by the Bears, okay? But hey, you know what? It's how the ball bounces, man, and it's yeah. I just marvelous, Lauren. I just hope we can at least get back to some football. I hope that we can at least get to the.
And we want some good football. Yeah. I don't just want football. I want good football. Okay.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. With social distancing, what are they going to play? Touch football?
Well, that's the other thing. You know, you didn't talk about your top three as far as the hot takes of the week, but. How did the National Football League say, okay, we're going to get back to playing football. We're going to spend 3.5 hours. You guys are going to be banging each other, spitting on each other, sweating on each other,
grabbing on each other,
grabbing on each other, blood slinging all over each other. Oh, but at the end of the game, you can't swap jerseys. You can't do it.
Come on.
You can't change jersey because it increases the risk of getting corona and COVID. Hello.
Like
wait a minute. We just been playing football for 3.5 hours. We got sweating all over the place, spitting everything, and you tell me I can't exchange a jersey because it might increase the risk of me getting COVID? What kind of sense does that make? What kind of sense does it make?
NFL sense.
Yeah. Well.
It's nonsense.
Wrong. And Richard Sherman, he did say, they got to step up and say stuff. It just can't be Richard Sherman and a few others. Like, everybody needs to come out and say this is ludicrous. Like, I just, you got to use your voice.
It just doesn't make any sense.
You got to use your voice. This is the time.
Well, yeah.
This is the time to use it. Empowerment, guys.
Well, here's the deal. When you talk about making your voice, and we're going to talk some baseball with Scott Merck and MLB.com. Will be joining us shortly to talk some baseball, White Sox baseball. Michael Kopech has opted out of this shortened season due to personal reasons. We'll get a chance to talk to Scott Merkin about that. But when you say use your voice, I got a bone to pick, so to speak. He's not one of my favorite guys when you talk about sports, playing the game. Not one of my I love what he's doing off the court. I love what he's doing off the court. But you talk about using your voice, and this is the time. Help me out, Lauren. Lauren Cox, marvelous. Hey, LeBron James. They were talking about putting names on the back of their jerseys in support of Black Lives Matter, the victims who have succumbed to police violence and have died, and just the statements around,
Good idea.
Yeah, it's a great idea. But your boy, the leader, the face of the National Basketball Association, LeBron James, down in Disney World in Orlando, said, hey, you know what? I'm not doing it. I'm just going to put James in the back of my back. Because people already know what I stand for. What's your position, Lauren?
Now, I can't say nothing bad about LeBron.
Yes,
don't put me in a sticky situation,
I gotta
Jerry.
put you in a sticky situation. LeBron James goes, I didn't go with the name on my back of my jersey. It was no disrespect to the list that was handed down to all the players. I commend anyone to decide something on the back of our jersey, just something that didn't seriously resonate with my mission, with my goal. I would have loved to have said so on what would have went on the back of the jersey, but I'm okay with that. I don't need to have something on the back of the jersey for people to understand my mission and what I'm about. Help me out here.
Well,
help me out here.
Maybe I can't say nothing bad about LeBron James.
What does he stand for then? What is he about?
After he had that school for our babies, I can't, gave us the best thing ever, education. I can't.
Let me tell you something.
It's hard for me to say something bad about him, but I will say, just looking at this, I haven't dug deep into this. This is the first time I'm hearing about it. It just seems like to me he's mad because he didn't come up with the idea. That's kind of what. That's kind of the first.
So he's being petty.
That's kind of what
he's being petty in a situation that's serious.
I mean, is he petty? Can he be petty sometimes?
No, this isn't the time. You said now's the time to speak up. And this guy.
Well, no, he's done. I mean, he's done more. That he's done his fair share in terms of being a voice and all of that. So if it's his business, if he didn't want to do it, he has his reasons. What they are, I don't know, but
what's bigger than the people who have lost their lives and the movement itself?
You can't correlate those two things.
Come on, man.
He said he didn't
Let me tell you something.
I wish he should have did it. I will say that he should have did it. I don't know why he didn't.
He should do
but
it.
It doesn't take away
and he
from
still
what
has
he did.
time to do it. No one's saying that it's taken away. But listen, if the greatest of all time, Michael Jordan, come out and say, hey, enough is enough after the George Floyd situation, if he comes out and say, if Michael Jordan, who doesn't say anything about anything, if he come out and say, hey, enough is enough, he's like, hey, wait a minute. This even ruffled my feathers. This is enough. You mean to tell me the face of the league is going to take a back seat and say, well, you know what? I'm not going to put I'm just going to put my little baby name James on there. I'm just going to put it. But I guarantee if they had a commercial, he's in the commercial. I guarantee if they got a billboard in Los Angeles, he's going to be on the billboard. But of course, I'm not going to support this movement. I'm going to support. People know who I am. They know what I stand for.
We do know what you stand for.
Yeah, you stand for. Hey, be a man and stand up and step up. Hello.
He has.
No, I don't want
Go to Ohio and look at that school.
No, I don't want to go to Ohio. I want to see when I turn on the NBA, hopefully, Marvelous, if they get a chance to play. I want to see if the Lakers are playing, trying to get a championship. I want to see if LeBron James is going to represent the people who this whole thing is about, man. That's what I want to know.
He's always
He's a bum. He's always bum. LeBron James.
You better not call LeBron no bum.
I can settle this. LeBron did something nice today. Did you know that?
He's always doing something.
He did?
Yeah, for Adrian Wojnarowski, who was suspended by ESPN, and because he said something negative about the senator from Missouri, the blank U stuff. So he was suspended, and LeBron came out in support of Adrian today. So he did something nice.
Oh, so he wants to report it. He wants to support a sports reporter, a sports writer. Yeah. But the people I really need to support, he's like, well, you know what? I'm going to take a back seat on this.
No, he's not.
That's what he just said. Come on, Lauren. He just said it. I'm going to support a sports writer who's going back and forth because he's attacking our league. But this cause over here, no, I'm just going to stick with it because people know who I stand for. They know what I do. Get that. Man, don't start with me. Don't start.
Don't start.
Don't start. The great Michael Jordan said, hey, enough is enough. I'm giving $100 million.
LeBron said that time and time again. LeBron is the one who started the activists in terms of the new age basketball guys, which was the exact opposite of what your boy Michael Jordan did. So come on now.
No, he didn't start. The only thing he started was trying to make as much money, and I commend him. Again, off the court, I love the guy. I love what he's doing, and I wish more professional athletes and more African American athletes would take the baton and do exactly what LeBron is doing.
Exactly. It's extraordinary.
But you just said, hey, now is the time to speak up. Now is not the time to take a backseat.
He's spoken up.
Somebody asked me the question, hey, if LeBron James said he's not going to play until there's equality across the board, how many players in the league would follow him? And he said he believed at least half the players in the league would follow LeBron if he stood up and said, hey, you know what? I'm not doing this.
Well, why? I mean,
he's the leader. He's the face of the league.
He has done a lot. I mean, everybody can't be Martin Luther King. Like, come on.
No one's asking him to be Martin Luther King.
He's done enough. He did the school.
It's never enough. Lauren, help me out here.
He's done more than everybody else is going to do and has done.
How did he get his money?
There have been many NBA players before and after him.
I'm talking about him. How did he get his money?
He's the one who put the school in place for the kids.
How did he get his money? How did he get it?
Playing basketball.
Playing basketball. And the NBA and ESPN, they started covering this kid when he was a sophomore in high school, putting his games on national television. Nike, the brand, they built this guy up to what he is today. So as far as the money,
his talent as well. They didn't just build him up. He had something to do with it.
His talent. He's good.
His divine talent. It's above and beyond.
He's good. It's above and beyond.
It's above and beyond.
Yeah, but he's good.
Okay,
he's good.
We know that.
But if the league, if the brand and Nike and the broadcast entity ESPN built this stage and platform for you, and they're going to groom you and make you the face of the franchise, taking the baton from Kobe Bryant, i.e., may he rest in peace, they're going to do everything to protect this guy and make him the mega star that he is today. Hence, and increase his bankroll. Okay. When you step out like that, and you are the leader, in my opinion, when you are a leader of that stature, and in this era, There's no time, in my opinion, to take a back seat.
So you think he should have stepped up and said, "I'm not playing"?
I'm not saying that.
Would you have done that? No.
If I was LeBron James,
no,
and I was not upset,
not do that. It's easy for you to sit on here right now and say that about that boy. Come on, stop it. That man has done more than enough. People need to stop judging and worry about what you have done. Have you volunteered? Have you given back? People always want to say what everybody else needs to do. He's done more than enough, starting with the school, which nobody has done and probably ain't going to do no time soon. And that's not enough for y'all. That's not enough for y'all.
No, it's never enough. It's never enough. Lauren Cox, Jerry Riles, the Marvelous One. Damn.